Hello and welcome once again. This is part 2 of the series on hepatitis B, and in this part we are going to talk about the Hep B profile. This is the lab test that helps us to tell whether you are chronic, whether you are acute, whether you've been vaccinated or not, whether your vaccination is successful or not. And so we'll go through that in this video. This is the test kit for the hepatitis B profile. So I'll open it and then we'll see how it looks like. So this is how it looks like. Very interesting. Good. So the first test area, this is where you put your samples. You can either put whole blood or plasma or serum here. So these are there. Okay, so let's quickly go through the different test areas that we have. So the first one is the hepatitis B surface antigen. The second one is the hepatitis B surface antibody. Then the third one, hepatitis B envelope antigen. Then hepatitis B envelope antibody. And then hepatitis B core antibody. Now, to appreciate this, we'll need to look at the structure of the hepatitis B virus quickly. So this is the hepatitis B virus. It has a DNA. Good. Then around the DNA, it has this capsid proteins. Then around the capsid protein, it has an envelope, which is a lipid bilayer. So it's an enveloped virus. Good. So let's take notice of these important antigens. So on the surface, which is the lipid bilayer, it has this surface antigen. So there is the surface antigen. Then in the capsid, we also have the core antigen. The core antigen. We will not be using this much in the test, but we'll be using the surface antigen a lot. Good. Then the DNA is in there. Then between the envelope and then the capsid, we have the envelope antigen. The envelope antigen. Good. Antibodies will be produced against the surface antigen by the immune system. So we have that will be the hepatitis B surface antibody. Then we also have antibodies against the core antigen. So that will be hepatitis B core antibody. And then finally, antibodies against the envelope antigen. So hepatitis B envelope antibody. Okay, so this one, when the virus is replicating, the envelope antibody will be produced. Okay, so let's go back to the test strip and let me show you how it's done. You appreciate it even more when we get to interpreting of the results. So you have your blood sample as usual. You put it in the test area. You can use whole blood, or you can use plasma, or you can use serum. So same as we did for the first one, the strip one, is the same thing that we are going to do. Good. So let me introduce my blood into the test area. Okay. So I can put a drop in each of them. Okay. Then I would introduce my buffer into all of the wells. 2 drops. So we'll wait for about 10 minutes for it to move up by capillary action. So whilst that is happening, let's go to the interpretation. That's where the information is. That's where you're going to learn a lot of things. Okay, so let me put this aside and let's focus on the interpretation. Good. So let's follow this chart. here. Good. So let's say this is number 1. Good. If you have not been exposed to the hepatitis virus at all, and then you have not also vaccinated, this is the result of your profile. This is how your hepatitis B profile will look like. So because you've not been exposed, the surface antigen will be negative, and then in the test area it will show as one line, so negative. Then because of course you don't have the surface antigen, you also don't have the surface antibody, so this one will also be negative. So in the test area it will be 1. Then there will be no envelope antigen. There will be no, because you don't even have the virus, so that will also be negative to show as 1 in the test area, only 1 line. Then the envelope antibody will also be negative because you don't even have the antigen. But here in the test area, the line will be 2. Okay, I'll explain this later in another separate video so that it doesn't become too long for this particular video. Okay, then the core antibody will also be negative because you don't have the virus, so that will show as also 2 lines in the test area. So this is how the profile of somebody who has not been exposed to the virus and also has not vaccinated, this is how the profile of that person will look like. Then let's look at number 2. Number 2, this is a person who has not been exposed to the virus but then has vaccinated. The person has received vaccination. So this is how the profile will look like. The hepatitis B surface antibody, the hepatitis B surface antigen will be negative because you don't have the virus in you. You don't have. Good. And then the hepatitis B surface antibody will be positive, and it's positive because you are vaccinated and the vaccination is successful. When the vaccination is successful, the antibodies will be in your blood, so this will be positive and to show as 2 lines in the test area. And because it's successful, it will in fact clear all the hepatitis B surface antigen that you were injected with initially, so it will take it away so that you no longer have this one. So that shows that you've successfully been vaccinated, or the vaccination has been successful. And because you don't even have the virus in you, you only have the surface antigen, there will be the envelope antigen will be negative. It will show us 1 line in the test area. Then of course the envelope antibody will be negative to show us 2 lines in the test area. And then the core antibody will also be negative because you don't even have the virus and you've not been exposed to the virus. So this is a person who has not been exposed to the virus, I mean maybe through sexual contact or through coming into contact with the blood, but then has vaccinated. Okay, so that's number 2. Then let's go to number 3. Number 3 is somebody who has been recently exposed to the virus. Either by vaccination. So this person has not actually contracted the virus by through sex or any other means, but then has received the vaccination, has recently received it. So this is how the profile will look like. So the person will have the surface antigen. So the surface antigen will be positive because you just received the surface antigen from the vaccine. So it will show as 2 in the test area. Then because your body or your immune system has not yet produced the antibodies, the surface antibody will be negative. Then the envelope antigen will be negative because you actually don't have the virus. Then the antibody will also be negative. Core antibody will also be negative because you don't have the virus. So this is a person who has been recently immunized. So this is how the hepatitis B profile will look like. So he just exposed the virus recently or recently immunized. This is how it will look like. Okay, so let's go to number 4. So number 4, somebody who has the virus, and let's say recently had the virus and then is also not replicating. So you're having an acute infection. This is how your hepatitis B profile will look like. So you have the surface antigen will be positive because you have been infected, so you should show us 2 lines in the test area. Then surface antibody will be negative. It will be negative because your immune system has not yet fought or has not yet been successful in fighting it. So you are just having the virus. And then the envelope antigen is negative. It means that the virus is not replicating or has not started replicating. And once the virus is not replicating, the envelope antibody will also be negative. You will not have the antibody. Then the core antibody will be positive, and so will show as 1 line in the test area. By this time, your body has started, or your immune system has started fighting against the infection, and the antibody that will be produced will mainly be IgM type. The IgM type. Good. So there's a person who has had an acute infection. There is no viral replication, and then the immune system has started fighting against it. Good. So that's number 4. Let's look at this one too. This is a person who has had the infection, acute infection, but then there is viral replication. So this person is highly infectious. If your partner is of this type or has Hep B profile showing this way, number 5, then the person is highly infectious, because the person is actively replicating. So let's look at how it will be. So of course you have the virus, so your surface antigen will be positive. It will show 2 lines in the test area. Then you've not yet had recovery, or your immune system has not yet started successfully fighting again, overcoming it. So your surface antibody will be negative, so it will show us 1 in the test area. Good. Then your envelope antigen will be positive because you are actively replicating, so that will show us 2 in the test area. Then once you are replicating, it means you've not yet started producing antibodies, so your envelope antibody will be negative. It will show as 2 in the test area. Then your core antibody will be positive. It shows that your immune system has started working against it. And most of the immunoglobulins that will be produced will be the IgM type. So this is a person with acute infection with viral replication. Okay, so let's go to number 6. There's a person who is recovering from an acute infection. Hepatitis B, you can be cured from it, and your immune system is the main player here. So this is a person who is recovering from the hepatitis B infection. So you realize that in the process of recovering, the titer for the hepatitis B surface antigen will start reducing. Sometimes it can be reduced to the point that you not even detect it. So it will be negative here to show us 1 in the test area. Then the surface antibody will be negative because you've not fully recovered. And so IgG titer is not high enough to be detected. Maybe it's there, but it's not high enough to be detected. So this will be negative to show us 1 in the test area. Then the surface and the envelope antigen will be negative because your body has started recovering, so it will remove it from the system. So it will be show as negative 1 in the test area. Then since you are not replicating, the envelope antibody will also be negative and will show as 2 in the test area. Then the core antibody will show positive, obviously, because you are recovering, and they will show as 1. So by this time, most of the immunoglobulins that will be coming will be of the IgM type. Okay, so this is a person who is recovering from acute infection. Okay, so let's continue with the chart number 7. Okay, so number 7, this is a person who has fully recovered. Yay, fully recovered. When you fully recover, this is how your profile will look like. So the surface antigen will not be there, it will be negative. Good, so it will show us 1 in the test area. Then the surface antibody, yes, will now show positive. This will be mainly IgG version, and then to show us two lines in the test area. Then the envelope antigen, of course, because you've recovered, it will be negative, so it will show us 1 in the test area. Then the envelope antibody obviously will also not be there because you've recovered, so it will show us 2 in the test area. Then the core antibody will also show positive because you have recovered, and this time the IgG titer will be very high. Yes, the immunoglobulins that will be predominant will be the IgG, so it shows that you have fully recovered, and that is what we want. Now, if you don't recover, and sadly the virus or the infection will now enter into the chronic state. So number 8, we are looking at when it gets chronic. When you have a chronic infection, how will your profile look like? Okay, so this is how your profile will look like. The hepatitis B surface antigen will be obviously positive because you have the virus, so it will show us 2 in the test area. Then because you've not recovered, the antibody, surface antibody, will not be there, so you will have 1 line. Then the envelope antigen will can be negative or positive, but if it's negative, means you are not replicating. Good. Once it's negative, the envelope antibody will also be negative. Then the core antibody will be positive, and it shows that your immune system is doing something about it, so it's producing some immunoglobulins to fight it. Good. So this is a person who is chronically infected, has chronic infection. Good. Let's look at this one. This one is a person, number 9, someone who has chronic infection with active replication. The virus is replicating actively, so it's almost similar to this. Just that the envelope antigen is positive, so the surface antigen will be positive, show us 2 lines. The surface antibody will be negative to show us 1 line. The envelope antigen will be positive because they are replicating, so to show us 2 lines. Then because you are replicating, there will be no envelope antibody, or your immune has not successfully fought against replication, so it will be negative. The titer will be negative, so envelope antibody will be negative to show us 2 in the test area. Okay, then the core antibody will be positive. Good. Positive, it will show us 1 line in the test area to show that your immune system is doing something about it. So this is a person who has chronic infection with active replication. Okay, this number 10, somebody chronic infection but no replication. Chronic infection with no replication. So of course, surface antigen will be positive, show us 2 lines. Surface antibody will be negative because you've not yet recovered, you are in the chronic state. Then the envelope antigen will be negative because there is no replication now. Then the envelope antibody will be positive because the immune system has successfully worked against the replication, and so now you realize that the envelope antibody will now be positive, indicating that it has stopped the replication. Good. Then the core antibody will be positive, indicating that your immune system is doing something about. So this is a person who has chronic infection, but then with no replication. Chronic infection with no replication. Okay, so I have a last one here if you've really understood it, I want you to analyze this one. What will be the interpretation for this one? So the person has a surface antigen, so showing 2 lines. The person does not have the surface antibody, so negative, showing 1 line. The person, the E antigen is negative, 1 line. Then the envelope antibody is positive, 1 line. Then the core antibody is negative, showing 2 lines. So what will be the interpretation of this one? Let me know your answer in the comment section. I'll be very interested to know. It will show whether you understand it or not. It's a real test of understanding. So let me know in the comment section what your answer will be. This is also the one I just did. This is how it looks like. So we are having the hepatitis B surface antigen shown. So this person has the virus. He has the virus. Okay. Then the surface antibody is negative. It means that the person has not yet had immunity against it. Good. Then envelope antigen is negative. It means the person is not replicating. Good. Then we have the envelope antibody showing negative. It's showing negative, so it's not replicating. And also the envelope antibody is obviously negative. Then we come here and then we look here, and then this is also you can see a faint line here, so this is also negative. This is also negative. So if this is also negative, it means that the antibody has not yet been, or the immune system has not yet started fighting against it. So this is somebody who has recently exposed to the hepatitis B virus. Or it could also mean that the person has recently immunized. So this is the results we had for. So that's number 3, if you can remember. So positive, negative, negative, and then we have negative, and then we have negative. So that's number 3, if you only remember. So you've been exposed to the virus recently, either through sex or either through immunization, but then the immunization has not yet been successful. Good. So it could be any of the 2. Okay, so I hope you understood this. It's been a long video. I hope you took something from this. Thank you, and let me know your comment in the last one that I showed you. What will be the answer for this one? Okay, bye.